Alright, I'm guessing you fucking hate getting videos from people, but um, I've been playing around with different shit over the past like 2 weeks. We've been trying to fill in that hole in the VE table, trying to throw VE, trying to throw fuel at that table to try to, there was usually a lean hump in a pull. This is a fourth gear pull, and there would be an enrichment, maybe a rich moment here, maybe not. I got my enrichments to track pretty good. This one's not perfect, but a little tweak up on the enrichment table might smooth that out a little bit more. But it's actually pretty good. A little rich, but then there would be a lean spike. Like the enrichment would end and then a lean hump. And then I started talking about map rate and focusing on map rate because I'm putting the pieces to this insane puzzle together slowly. And what was happening was the enrichment would end back here while map was still climbing. Here it is. There's the map. So in this particular pull, and I'm recording this video because in this pull, enrichments lasted 1.1 seconds. In many other instances, it only lasts like 500 or 600 milliseconds. So because enrichments lasted so much longer, they lingered, there's no lean hump. So when we say, oh, that's probably, when we're talking about like first gear and trying to fix that problem and that lean hump, it's a much bigger piece of the pull because it's the faster acceleration. You're only in first gear for 1.6 seconds total. But there's no lean hump here. Usually even in third, fourth gear pulls, there was still a lean hump because the enrichment would end too soon. It would go lean. Map rate was still climbing. We're still just getting into boost right here. This enrichment lasts all the way into boost and then tapers off. So your map rate, I know there's lag and all that stuff. I've got a pretty good clear picture of that, but the enrichment ends pretty much as map starts dropping, and then the enrichment is also dropping. It's almost 1-to-1, and this tracks almost perfectly. It's a little rich right there. We're off target a little bit. Rate as enrichments are ending. Trims pick up as a -1, -1.3. End up zeroing out across the pull. My VE table is pretty dialed in, except for some low end stuff because we changed the injector angle down there. But up top here in a pull, it's pretty good. This is good. I mean, this is what we're looking for. I know I use map here instead of TPS rate. I don't know how a TPS enrichment would look in this particular instance, but you got something funky happen back here because map spiked and then dropped and then spiked again, which caused the second. It's two enrichments. This one was a little bit too early. Caused a little bit of a rich moment before actual tip in. I don't know what I did back here with the throttle, but it looks like I tipped in a little bit, which spiked map, which caused an enrichment, and then really hit it over here. I'm pointing this out because in this instance where enrichments worked right, there's no lean hump. Not a something like this that might be a false lean. This looks like a genuine lean hump that in this case, because it worked right, doesn't exist. If we go to another moment, okay. So here's that first gear pull. The enrichment, tracking with map. Again, tracking map. It went a little rich down here. I could pull some out of the table in the 30 to 40 map range. I don't plan on sticking with map. I just did this for science, just to see what would happen. This enrichment only lasted about 600 milliseconds, 500 even. Very short. Why does it drop off like this? Map is still rising. Boost, we haven't even hit peak boost yet. We're just starting to get into it, really. The map rate is still increasing. That's your lean hump right there. It's not that bad in this particular one because in the map-based enrichment, it stays like a shelf like this. In the TPS enrichment, it tapers like this. And you don't get this extra fuel right here. That little bit of extra fuel, because I'm referencing off map, kept this from going really lean. And I don't even end up with much of a positive trim. So the reason why I've been focusing so much on this lean spike here, you can ignore everything back here because that's snoring tip in and, a little rich on tip in, whatever. Maybe some wheel spin. The reason why I'm focusing on this lean spike, and you're saying, oh, it might have been a false lean. We're dumping a ton of fuel back here. It might be false lean. Maybe, I don't really have the experience to know if that's true or not. Based on looking at that other log and that other moment, there's no lean spike because the acceleration enrichment stayed out for over a second. If this acceleration enrichment stayed on for over a second, it would be out to here where map is settled back down. We're at peak boost. 1 second gets you out over here. And if we kept having an enrichment moment all the way out to here, you would have no lean moment here. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. So to go back to why am I focusing on the lean moment right here? Because we were thinking, or at least I was thinking, that when this went lean, trims were going way, way positive. +8, +9, +10, all the way up here. And then because it was +8, +9, +10, I was thinking that's what was pushing this down here, making it super rich. And because this was going super rich, then trims would swing -13. But look what we have here. No, not that bad of a lean hump. It's not that bad. No positive trim, but you still get a huge negative dip here. That is what I'm asking you in this video, really. How do I solve that? This is a first gear thing. At the top of first gear, we're consistently seeing a rich dip here. It doesn't seem to be related to the lean hump and an oscillation of fuel trims, lambda correction coming in and then going back negative, swinging back in an oscillating manner. This rich dip here seems to be related to a drop in torque at the top of first gear. Velocity of airflow, whatever. I don't really know all this stuff too well. You probably know it a hell of a lot better than I do. Maybe it's going super rich back here at the top of first because of everything going on back here. And like you're saying, oh, it's false lean, and then, there's a pocket of fuel built up or something, and then as the airflow, we're finally into boost, it starts sucking that fuel puddle off the port. I don't know if that's the case because you're super rich here, and then we usually have a lean hump here, and then we're rich again here. So if you were talking about like back here upon the initial crazy steep enrichment, that's a false lean, I could probably get on board with that. But then it follows trim lambda target pretty nicely. Just goes rich here, I guess. I don't know what's going on exactly, why that's causing. What is that rich moment? Lean here. This curve is exactly what we see in the higher gears usually too. The only reason why we didn't see it in the other instance that I just showed you, we could just flip back to it, is because, like I said, the enrichment lasted for over a second and followed map and tapered off. There's a little bit of there's that lean moment, maybe false lean. There's that rich dip. Usually we had go lean here, but we didn't because the enrichment actually worked right. And then at the top, we don't go rich at the top of any other gear except first. I mean, we only went out to 4,000 RPMs here, but torque does drop off in the taller gears, same as first, but first seems to, the rate of change is so high in first that maybe, I don't know, the port velocities and all that crap is different. But what I'm thinking is, if we go back to the first gear, here's another, this is third gear instead of fourth. So there you have that same swing. Steep enrichment, a little bit of a lean moment. That's probably that false lean, or maybe the fuel hasn't caught up yet. Like you're saying, this is map based. So actually, in map based enrichments, the map rate pretty much matches the TPS rate. It's not that far off. There wasn't really any noticeable lag here. And this is my adder table at 273 here. I actually added a little bit of fuel to the VE. on that adder table, and it actually did a pretty nice job. Part throttle doesn't work right, but in this moment, it tracks pretty evenly, very little lag. You got a big rich enrichment moment. It went rich. Not crazy, but it did go rich. I could probably work on that by taking some out of the 90 kPa range. You have a lean hump. Why do we have a lean hump? Because we were still getting into boosts. Map was still climbing and the enrichment ended. And there's no taper, there's no decay. It's just from this to this. There's no decay. If this decayed gradually out to here in more of an angle, we wouldn't have this lean hump. But, and that's that oscillation. Now we're going positive corrections to correct for that lean hump, going a little bit negative. That's what I thought was happening at first. But when we go back to first, here's where the enrichment worked again. We go back to first, there's no lean hump, there's no positive trims to swing back from. That was my goal. Get rid of the lean hump to get rid of the positive trims, and we'll get rid of this lean hump when it swims back negative. But now we're still negative 12. I fixed nothing. Fixed absolutely nothing. We still ended up at negative 12. And the problem with ending up at negative 12 at the end of first gear is that now second gear is lean. The whole second gear is lean. So I have two thoughts. Shift in first at 5,000 fucking RPMs, 5,500, which is not the end of the world, right? Just switch here, 5,500, 6,000 RPMs. Maybe I can avoid this altogether. And I could try that for sure, but you go through first so fast, it's literally 1 second to slam into second gear. And in an autocross course, sometimes you have to hold on to first to get around the cone right off the rip. So I don't always have the option of short shifting first. And with wheel spin and stuff, I may not have that option. I might have to always pull out to the top of first, or, depends on the course. But if I do have to keep going out to the top of first, then second gear, I'm rich the whole time I'm in second. And then it throws a lean code. I don't know if it did in this. Yeah, it throws a lean code. So what's the... And it is genuinely lean. I don't want to be this lean here. To your point, I'm at 10 PSI. I'm genuinely lean. If I throw more fuel, I threw a... That's where I started doing the adder the intake cam table. I threw a bunch of fuel at 20 degrees, and I could get this to be flat on target post shift. But then I had more of a rich moment here. I was super rich here when the cam came up to 20 degrees. And that didn't really solve this problem either. And then because I added a ton of fuel at 20 degrees, all my coasting was all like negative 8%, because it's all everywhere I coast I'm at 20 degree cam angle. So that's not a solution to this. I was chasing my tail. That was a bad road to go down. So I went back to my original intake cam adder table. I fixed the lean hump. So let's say that I fixed that. I still have this rich moment. I'm still going negative trims. I'm still lean and going into second. So short of shifting early, I don't know how else to fix this. Maybe we can add a fourth dimension to the fuel trim table and say first gear, take out negative trims any more than negative 2%, negative 3% or so. Or maybe just zero out the negative trims above 5,500 RPMs in first gear. See what happens. It seems like when we slam it into second, we go lean. So it's not like this is, the torque jumps back up, I suppose. Where's torque? VVT, I think has torque. No. Rail map. This has. No. Interesting. Where's torque? I know it's calculated torque, by the way. I do know that. Not just there. Here it is. So what is torque doing? Torque drops off a cliff at the top of first, but most all gears are down to 1700, 1600 Newton meters. Calculated torque. I know it's not real torque, but it's representative, right? Should be. I know that there's going to be a dip at the top of every gear because it's a small turbo. We're still in boost though. We've lost a couple. We've lost about a psi, but get back into second, where torque's back up to 1800. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I do know right here is where we're going rich in first. When we get back into second, we're not rich still. We're not pulling, we don't need that negative 13 trim. As soon as we switch gears, it'll probably be dead on target if we didn't have a negative 13 fuel trim. That's what I'm seeing. And short of messing with the trims, I don't know where else to go from here to try to fix this specific issue. You could play with the cam maybe. Keep the cam open, make the target in, but then you would need, I'm guessing you would need, why does it go rich? Airflow chokes at higher RPM in first. The acceleration rate is so high, it's sucking, it's, I don't know how to say that, articulate that. Scavenging down airflow, map pressure. Yeah, we're negative map. So, but we're negative all the way back here. Yeah, we start going negative right around back here. So right around here, we start going negative. So we're scavenging down boost pressure from the manifold above about 5,500 RPMs in first. Maybe that's why it's going rich. That probably doesn't happen in taller gears, at least not to this extent. And it's also probably accounted for in the VE table, the main fuel table, a lot more than first gear where it's happening so fast. We would have to pull a ton of VE out in this area so that this wouldn't go so rich. But again, it seems like something has to be done specific for first gear to get this flatter so that we don't go lean when we switch into second gear. And the other point about all this is the enrichments. Why are the enrichments not consistent?